Hey guys, I don't want to leave you hanging, but so far what I was talking about yesterday looks like it's pretty much coming to fruition as far as the connection being solidified and everything settling down. And I'll show you that in a minute, but I wanted to show you this MLSO run from yesterday. We got like 120 frames or thereabouts. 116 it looked like, but it's like an 8-hour run. They got it sanitized. In other words, they took out the first several layers that shows all that stuff zipping around, whatever it might be. It's all those circular objects. You still see some staticky stuff flying through there. But look at all these objects, man. And there's the one that was up here a few days ago. It's down here now. Showing like two distinct pieces, it looks like. I don't know. Or maybe it's just not round and maybe quite angular and jagged. That would be my take. And they all show this concentric circle ring. I don't know if that's a magnetic field or if it's just the medium in which they take these pictures with. Some kind of a white level 1.5 with gamma. Tried several times to kind of figure out exactly what the heck, but didn't really come up with anything that I can understand anyway. Well, we still got these big objects, and since this is an 8-hour run, I mean, you look at them moving, you can see them moving. So that indicates to me, well, they're closer to the Earth, because not only do they look bigger, they're showing more motion. Something here, maybe here. I mean, I know this Nemesis Nibiru system is only supposed to have, what, 7 planets and maybe a few moons? Or 5 planets and 2 moons? I'm not sure. I don't think anybody really knows. Well, somebody knows, but they're not telling, of course. But obviously, since we get Nemesis behind our binary twin sun, the brown dwarf, and read my hypothesis number 1 and 2 below the video, you have to click reply below the number 1 hypothesis to get the full number 2. And I do that in order to try to cram as much stuff on the front screen of my videos as possible, because YouTube likes to hide my comments. And it's also best to click newest first in the comment section. That looks like something maybe up there, maybe not. But that one, that's getting bigger for sure. It's always been in about the same spot. And that's one showing the biggest center mass to me anyway. So I think I would say that this is probably the big planet maybe that passed ACE on the 16th, October 16th, and has been still blocking the ACE data relays. We still have this is like midnight to almost 8, so it's almost an 8-hour gap still showing up on ACE on the data relays. And when I talk about ACE, there's 2 satellites put out here at the L1 Lagrange point, 930,000 miles in front of our planet, in order to give early warning from stuff coming from the sun, like coronal mass ejections or coronal hole streams that might interfere with our geosynchronous orbit satellites and whatever else they got up there. So maybe they can power them down and shield them from the oncoming solar storm. So these are 930,000 miles in front of the planet. And read my hypothesis number 1. That'll explain to you what I'm talking about when I say that this might be that big planet. But it could be any of these. Or it could be none of these. I don't know. I'm just an interested observer trying to put 2 plus 2 together and using my intuition by comparatively studying these space weather sets at least twice daily for the past year. So stuff does stand out to me whenever I see something different. Oh, here's the real-time discover last 1 day sample, 24 hours, and pretty much just like what MLSO's predicting, solar wind speed's going down, which I showed you the last couple of videos. But the density, it's actually going up, but that pretty much correlates to what's going on, because when the solar wind speed goes down, see it's down around 465. This I have it marked where we should be. So they have Enlil has the density down around 3 or 4. Solar wind speed, it's a little high, a little lower than what they're predicting. Looks like it's showing above 5, when in all actuality it's 465. So here's what I think's happening, and this correlates to exactly what I was saying yesterday. You see these solar wind speed numbers here coming from Nemesis? Because these are all being read within the magnetopause in our magnetosphere area. These numbers aren't coming from the ACE and Discover satellites out at the L1 Lagrange point. There's some kind of RCM computer modeling, and I got somebody tagging along with me today. That's why I got this extra toolbar. I can't get rid of them. So, but anyway, that's what it says up here. 2011 SWMF plus the RCM. That's computer modeling, showing you all what's going on in here. So all these numbers are being, all these solar wind speeds being coming from Nemesis, and it's being recorded around inside our magnetopause. And of course, it's not just coming inside here, it's also going out and around and past the Earth and pushing back to here, all the way up to the L1 Lagrange point. So as you can see, the solar wind speed from Nemesis is a good bit higher, but right now not extremely much higher. There's not a big discrepancy, but there's enough that's causing the solar wind speed. And look at that. That was a big slingshot there, which could only be explained by these big planets slinging this extra, sort of accelerating the solar wind coming from the sun. There's some, you see their interplanetary magnetic field lines stacking up here. But relatively speaking, things are pretty calm right now. So getting back to my point, so since the wind speed coming from Nemesis is a little bit higher, and maybe as much as 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers higher per second than the one coming from the sun, since the sun's coming back down, that's causing the solar wind density from the sun to start stacking up a bit, slowing down. It has been the whole time, actually. It's been 2 or 3 times what's supposed to be on the Enlil prediction. But now it's running maybe close to 3 times as much density. So that's what's happening there. Here's the geospace models. There's the pressure. Things are lightening up. I mean, we still have quite a bit of pressure front and back, but it's not looking as extreme as it did yesterday. And as the solar wind speed from the sun starts coming down, you can see the velocities coming down. I mean, the colors aren't looking as angry red as they were the past couple of days. So right now it's running fairly quiet. The phi angle's still trending more toward on the sun to the earth side, although it's jumping up every once in a while. I'm looking at these blue numbers. When Nemesis exerts itself, So that's probably going to change since the sun, solar wind speed's coming down and whatnot. I would expect this triangle to start shifting back up above 180 and trending more toward a backside connection with Nemesis. Okay, we didn't really have a high-speed solar wind event from Nemesis, finally, since, geez, I think it was since the 3rd of January this year. We had one pretty much every day, right around midnight, with between a 1 to 3 hour duration each time. And it didn't happen this time. One thing nice, this one has been giving us straight up runs. These were 300 frames, and I haven't seen them put in any missing time for, geez, about a month. It's pretty good. Look at these lines, man. These interplanetary magnetic field lines, IMF, the blue ones. They're getting all swirled around. Looks like the planet's showing some strength here. These polar cap field lines are getting stronger and they're closing more often. By stronger, I mean they look darker. They're closing more often and turning red, and they're expelling plasma. But we still got all this plasma hanging around. We really can't get rid of it. Used to be we'd have a big plasma ejection and it would go away. But this has been pretty much steady hanging around, especially up around this shoulder up here. There's another wave coming through. The only thing to explain that is the solar wind coming from the sun being slung at us from these planets that are in front of our planet, either being held up by their magnetospheres and masses and maybe gravity to a much lesser extent, and then being released. That's all I can figure. There's the fault radiation belts. There's the back bow shock. Every once in a while you'll see it break and let in some extra electron volt pressure. This is 4 million electron volts. That only comes from a nearby star. It's not normal background cosmic radiation. Fortunately, it doesn't reach the planet, but it does reach the upper atmosphere. That's why you see purple skies, pink skies, and so forth. That's when the nitrogen and the oxygen gets ionized, gets an electron stripped from their molecule, and it causes ionization, which changes the color of those elements. Let's see. So I mean, we got these big planets, and we've been seeing them for a while on MLSO for at least the last 4 months, 5 months. They're getting bigger. Why are they just still hanging out there, man? I don't know. The only thing I can say is electromagnetism is way stronger than gravity, as much as gravity is as much as 10 to the minus 40th power less strong than electromagnetism. So the electromagnetic forces from Nemesis and our binary twin sun and our planet, and also the sun and the planets themselves, which are in front, also have electromagnetic magnetospheres. And that's what's governing the position, the celestial positioning. So, I mean, obviously the Nemesis Nibiru system's here. It's just when is that other shoe going to drop? Because every 3,600 years it happens. Planet-wide chaos, and this time around I think it's going to be worse than we've ever seen before. For me, everything's lining up prophetically, biblically speaking, and Jesus said this is going to be the worst that's ever happened before or in the future. So click this link. It's one of the few places I've found where they haven't scrubbed any historical references to this Nemesis Nibiru passing. Running out of time. God bless. Peace. I'm out.